In example 2, we are going to use our sum and difference properties in order to verify. So thinking back to section 5.2. So the first thing we should notice is we have cosine x plus y plus cosine x minus y equal to 2 cosine x cosine y. So anytime we have the cosine or the sine or the tangent and we're adding or subtracting two things on the inside, that's where we can start using our sum and difference formulas. So I'm going to do this first, which is going to be my sum or difference formula for that one. So step number 1, I'm also going to do, since it's using the sum and difference formula for both of them, I'm going to do the difference formula for that one. So using the sum and difference formula, the cosine of x plus y is cosine of x, cosine of y, minus sine of x, sine of y. And then I'm adding, and then I'm going to do the cosine of x minus y, so the difference formula, which is cosine x, cosine y, plus sine x, sine y. And then I can get my rules. And my first rule, I would say this is the sum difference. Okay, then I can come to my second step. And what I'm looking here is I can simplify. So I have a cosine x cosine y and a cosine x cosine y here that I'm going to add together. So I have 2 cosine x cosine y, and then I have a negative sine x sine y and a positive sine x sine y, which will cancel out, and leaving me with 2 cosine x cosine y, which is what I had to begin with. So step number 2 was just algebra, and I'm done. Next, I would like you to pause it and do the try this below. Unpause it when you're ready to check your answer. If you did the verification for the try this, I worked on both sides. Now remember, there's not always just one way to do this. There's other ways that you can do it. But I started out on the right, and I used my difference formula on the top for my sine, giving my sine x cosine y, minus cosine x sine y. And then I did the sum formula on the bottom, sine x cosine y plus cosine x sine y. And my rule was the sum or difference formula. And then I moved to the left-hand side. And this, I started by taking my tangents on the top and the bottom. Using the quotient rule, I changed them all to sine over cosine. So this tangent x here, sine over cosine. This tangent y, sine over cosine. And I changed it to a division sign instead of a fraction, so I wasn't working with a bunch of fractions inside fractions. Tangent x from the bottom, sine over cosine. Tangent y, sine over y over cosine y. Parentheses are very important here, so if you do split up your numerator and your denominator, make sure the parentheses are there to identify that they are together. Then what I did is I got common denominators. So I used some algebra. I got common denominators within my numerator. So I multiplied this first fraction by a cosine of y over cosine y. And I multiplied this fraction by a cosine x over a cosine x. Then I did the same thing in my denominator. I got common denominators just like the top, so I multiplied this by cosine y over cosine y, and I multiplied this one by cosine of x over cosine of x using algebra. Then since my denominators were the same with my numerator, I combined my numerator into one fraction, and I did the same for my denominator. I combined it into one fraction. Then I went ahead and I changed division to multiplication. So here's my numerator. It's all in one. That's why I can get rid of my parentheses. And I multiplied and I made the reciprocal of this one. And then I could see that I could cross out the cosine x cosine y on the top and the bottom, leaving me with sine x cosine y minus sine y cosine x on the top, sine x cosine y plus sine y cosine x on the bottom. Again, all these rules are algebra. And this is what I have from my right-hand side that I simplified, which tells me that I'm done. If you have questions, let me know.